Sure. So let's roll then. We are live. We are recording. So Michele wanted to work with us today on openQA test development in GitHub Codespaces. Already sharing your browser, we can see that.
Yes.
Would you zoom in a little bit,
Good.
like 140%? Oh, wait, how is that? Oh, you need more. That looks good. That looks, yep. Keep it like this.
Good. Okay. Good morning. My name is Michele Pagot, and I'm a contributor of OS Autoist distro openSUSE. I think from 2 years now, something like this. But the idea to use CodeSpace does not come from working on this repository. Was about trying to coding with a teenager. We try to join together the challenge of the advent of code, but I need something simple to be ready and to be the same on all machine at home. We have some of them, and so what is CodeSpace? Well, if you like to start working on a repository, usually you need to clone it locally, right? But you have another possibility, that is CodeSpace. You see it's here near to local. And the idea is that you can create a development environment directly in the browser. So the idea is that you have an editor, and it is Visual Code, but you also have a virtual machine that you can use. Let me zoom in.
That's a nice thing because it's a browser-based application. Very large screen. Nice.
Yes, let me know when it is visible.
Can you try to zoom in? I don't know which components it will actually. Yeah, that looks good. The address bar in the browser is not readable, but I guess that's fine. The content of the page is clearly readable. Good.
Good. And the idea is that it's mostly like code, visual code. You have source code on this side. You have the editor. You can open any file. Okay, the code is here. And the interesting part is the terminal, because the terminal is not connected to your local machine, but you have a VM in the cloud that you can use to anything, to browse your code or to run your test or anything you like. You see that I just clicked give me a code space. So this is real the default behavior of it. And so by default, I think that you get an Ubuntu machine. Yes. And it is not an empty machine, but you have many stuff. I think that you have Perl installed, yes. You have Python, but you have even stuff like IPython should be. What I mean is that you already have a lot of pre-installed binary in this machine. And yes, it has some sort of integration with Git. So it means that if you change your code, you can create a commit with that. And the idea is that the source code here is cloned on this virtual machine, and so you can, I mean, for example, all your account on GitHub is already available here, and you can commit. Everything is pre-configured with your account, and you can even install extension. Let's see. Let's install this one. Yes, you see, it say that something is not good. This extension expects to have a Perl language server. You will come to it later. So, all in all, the default experience is like this. Not bad. Let's see if we can do, if it is okay to work with this repository. No? And so, for example, I like to try make test. And you see, it does not work. And it does not work because...
well, it can execute make, so that's already start.
Oh, yes, exactly. But already the tool to run the unit testing is not there. Okay, we should follow our contributing guide that tell that we should run make prepare. So it is cloning OS autoinst. It is fine because Git is already installed, but then it starts failing. Now it say that cpan is not installed. So I can tell you, you cannot do anywhere on this way. I mean, if the idea is to have a development environment ready to be used, it is not a good idea to provide a generic one that each time has to be pre-configured again and again. No? I can show you something else. For example, you can close your tab and the code space, the machine is there, is alive. You see, you can go to codespace, and here it is telling all of my code space that are running. I think that there's a kind of limitation. With my personal user, I know that I can only run 2 of them at the same time. But you can go there, let's say the day after, and you will find everything that you leave. Even if you have, I don't know, maybe you edit some file, but you do not commit them, the file are still there. So the idea is that even the storage of this virtual machine is yours.
For I think for a limited time, I think they'll give you a message and
Yes.
eventually.
Yes, yes. But what I like to say is that it is really something that you have. For example, now the machine was already alive, no? But it could happen that they turn the VM off, switched off the machine, so it takes some more time to boot again. But you have any file there, okay? Okay, so it is interesting, but it is not specific for this repository, okay? So let's close this one.
Yeah.
Let's delete.
By the way, little hint: if somebody would like to continue what you showed with make prepare, because it's a Ubuntu Debian system, you can actually just call apt get install cpan minus and then call no, sorry, sudo apt get install cpan minus and then. But of course, you
Yes,
would need to redo that, so it's not ready made.
I will show you because I have something
Yep.
already prepared even for Ubuntu. Okay, CodeSpace also provide a way to pre-configure your repository. So you can have a pre-configured code space dedicated to your repository. And the idea is that you can do it with something called a dev container. There's a relative good documentation about it. This is the main page, and you have a lot of explanation and example. But all in all, the idea is that you need to create some files. And this is a branch on my fork where everything is ready. Okay, I can show you. You need to create a folder with a specific name, and you need to create this file. This is the only file that you really need. It's called a dev container JSON. And mostly you can select a pre-configured image, or you can configure a Docker file. You can configure what they call features, but it's not interesting for the moment. And oh, this part is interesting. You can even pre-install some VS Code extensions, and you have some hooks and triggers. For example, this one is a command that can be executed after the first start of the dev of the container. Okay. There's a lot of pre-configured images. Otherwise, you can specify your Docker file. And in this case, I decided to go this way. So I have a Docker file based on openSUSE Tumbleweed. You can ignore this stuff, but mainly I'm copying the script here and I'm running the script. And the script, again, very simple. It is updating the system, installing all the dependencies that are explicitly cheated in the contributing, but also it also install other stuff on that. Okay. Yes, there are other dependencies that are needed for various stuff. Some of them, for example, are needed when you run make prepare. Podman, for example, is needed for one of the make target test ISO to video. But okay, let's say some stuff. What is interesting is that now, if I have my branch configured, I can create a code space. A code space dedicated to that branch. So it is even possible to maintain multiple dev container, one for each branch. It takes some time because it needs to build the image and then run some stuff on that. But at the end, you have a Tumbleweed VM that we can directly use. And yes, and even this process now maybe we can manage to maintain a a pre-built image somewhere. I don't know, it is just a prototype. And this process only takes place the first time that you run your, that you create your code space. So waiting this one to complete. Maybe we can have a look at another branch. Okay, this is a different branch. It's just like an evolution of the previous one. And what is different is that this one is using the same Docker file, but for example, it provides some configuration for one of the extensions. So this extension needs some configuration. You can provide it. They are configuration that usually are in your VS Code JSON, so the configuration file for your project for Visual Studio. And everything else is the same. What is different is in this one is that the Docker files also create a user, not root. And so when you start your environment, you are Mr. Node. And not root. What else? Oh, I think that this one also have the Perl language server installed. Yes. So where we are? Okay, this one is started. The first time you need to be patient because it needs to execute the hook for the first boot. It play me about something. You see, it's running the post create command. Okay, in the meantime, I can show you. Yes. Okay. In the meantime, I can show you some tricks or something useful if you need to debug the creation of your environment. So in the command palette, you have code space. You have many commands. What they are. So you can, for example, rebuild your container. You can stop your current code space. What is interesting is the log feature. Yes, you can export all the logs for the creation of the code space, but you can even directly look at them here. And this stuff is very interesting because you can have an idea about what is going on under the hood. And yes, for example, this one, no? Why I decided to run make prepare in this post create command and not directly in the Docker file. It is because the Docker file is the build and the run is executed at the early beginning of everything, of the creation of your code space. And so at this moment, your repository has not been cloned inside your virtual machine. This is something that is provided by default by the engine, let's say. Don't know how to call it. And so in order to run make prepare, I need the code space to be up and running because I need to have all the code. Okay. I'm not sure if it is, I mean, maybe there's other solution, but what I like to say is that there are some kind of, yes, corner case, or you need to think about how the stuff is running.
I think for now that's fine. You know, this is following what a user would do, clone the repository, yes, and afterwards that external dependency.
Yes.
Unless we replace that by saying, well, you can just install OS Audience as a package, maybe. Then you can put that into the dependencies so that it's put into the container when it is created before starting it.
Yes. Yes. Generally speaking, my point is that it is just a proof of concept, no? And maybe stuff can be reorganized in other way. But you see now, make test is running. This is the unit testing part. And everything works here till the test ISO2 video. Test ISO2 video is a little bit special because it requires Podman. It is like it would like to run a Podman container within this environment that is already a container that is running. And this combination does not work. Even using Docker, even does not work. I spent a lot of time trying to solve it. I will show you some.
Is that a known limitation of the environment, or is this missing setup?
It is kind of limitation, but there's way to address this limitation. But the way to address this limitation is only for Ubuntu.
Actually, I did not have any problem right now to run SUSE test as a video Docker selected.
Yes, I can show you. I can show you what happens here. Now it is running. Oh, in the meantime, let's see if the plugin, the Perl plugin is working, if the Perl language server is working. It starts only the first time that you open a Perl file. No, it is not working. Oh, no, it is not working here because in this version of the container, it is expected not to work. But let's see. Yes, you see, if you have the language server, you can search for definition, and here it is not working. No, it is not working. Okay, let's leave it running. Let's try to open another code space on a different branch. Where we are. Okay, this is a different branch. It has the image, the Docker image with a user that is not root, and it should have the Perl language server up and running. Let's create another code space. Here it is running. Especially when there's some step where that take all the CPU of the virtual machine dedicated to you, and you get a pop-up here that tell you, hey, 100% of the CPU is used by, are you using 100% CPU? But that's fine. I think you can just ignore it. It works. It does not hang or stop in any way. Wow. Any question in the meantime? I was showing some documentation. Yes, this is the documentation about the dev container, but dev container project is a project to its own. I mean, the JSON that I showed to you has its own their own specification, and it is in another project. Yes, this one, dev container. And here you have all the arguments that you can provide. Oh, you can even provide privileged. Maybe we can try this one. But you have a lot of stuff here. And this one is even not only for VS Code, but it is for not so many, but for more than one editor. No, this one is not interesting. Yes, I have some notes. And
So
there are.
you're saying this works with other editors? Is there a spec for how this is?
Exactly, like IntelliJ, I think they are listed at the beginning. Overview. There's a list of them somewhere, but yes. And another stuff that you can do, you can even create this container locally on your machine. First of all, you have a Docker file, so you can just ignore the dev container at all, and you can create your own image using the Docker file and install dependency, and you can mount your local clone of the repository inside your running image, and you have a development environment locally out from the cloud. But there's a way also to run directly this file locally. And the idea is that then you can have your local Visual Studio Code running on your machine, and you can point that Visual Studio Code to the running dev container. But everything can run on your machine. That is cool, no? Because this stuff, I mean, it is like generic, more usable, no? Not so locked to the web interface. Where we are, this one is still running. Oh, you see high code space CPU. Consider stopping some process. No, I like to keep them running. This one is the code space without the Perl language server. This one is the one with the Perl language server. What it is doing. Oh yes, it's there's some danger because we found another container cloned that is OS onto inst. Should we trust? Yes, we should trust. You see. is it still running? Oh no, it's ready. Okay, let's try to open. You see, now we are Mr. Node. Yes, we are on SUSE Tumbleweed. Let's try to open a file. You see here, ports. This is the language server that is running. Good. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works for some local variable like this. Oh, you see, go to definition. Okay, the definition is here, but fine. Let's see if we can find definition of test API. Yes, you see?
Neat.
And this one is neat, exactly. Yes, yes, it is. Why it works? It works thanks to some configuration that has to be maintained if we change something. And this is this stuff here. This is to tell the language server where we have our files. And this one is exactly what we have in the make file, I think. Yes, on this line. I just cut and paste this line and converted in a JSON. So have to be manually maintained. Let me show. So this one is in this version the per language servers works. Make test again works, but the ISO2 videos still not work. I can run it maybe manually. Yes, and it say something like this. Where is it? Cannot clone, operation not permitted. This kind of error. And Postman is installed here.
Yeah, can you set the command runtime execute? Sorry, the command runtime the container runtime environment to Docker. You call re equals Docker and then tools test ISO2.
Yes. I'm not sure that I have Docker installed here. Yes. No, I mistyped it. Docker. No. Docker. Yes, I do not have it installed.
Interesting, because in my code space by default it's there.
No, yes, by default, but this one is not the default one. No, this one is based on this Docker file.
Ah, okay, right. It's a Tumbleweed container. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But let me show last demo if I manage to go there. Okay, this is even one more branch. And what is interesting here is that in the dev container, we no more have only one JSON, one environment definition, but two of them. Because you can also do stuff like this. You can have multiple environment. I mean, you can have definition for multiple environment. And this one is the one that I showed to you before, just moved in a subfolder. And this one is an Ubuntu one. And here, there's also the dependency installation, it's like an attempt to have everything pre-configured. The per language server and everything else. How to use it? Unfortunately, it is not so user-friendly. You need to go to codespace, but if you just create a codespace like this, it's just create for you a generic codespace, not using any of the definition here. You need to go here, and you need to select new with option. That is, you can see, a little bit more difficult. And here you have OpenSUSE or Ubuntu. You can manage more than one. So let's try Ubuntu. Create. Again, it will take some time.
Question: did you specify multiple environments in the container file or in the dev container? How does that work?
Was a folder per?
Yes, one folder per. What is it? And you see, only two of them can run at the same time. Let me go back one level. I have one dev container folder in the root, but I have two subfolder.
Ah, that is nice.
Yes, and you can have as many as you like. The problem is that when you create the dev container here, if you does not tell anything and you just click on plus, it does not use any of them. It just creates for you a generic one. No, that is not so. I mean, the user has to be more aware of what it's doing. Otherwise, the result is to have a not configured environment at all. You need to go here, and then new with option, and then here you can select which folder you like to use. Let's try Ubuntu. Yes, and what I can tell you is that in Ubuntu, the test TIES2 video is working without doing anything special, anything explicitly special, because under the hood, I will show you Microsoft is doing, is pre-configuring stuff for us in order to be able to use Docker within Docker. In the meantime, I can show you some more documentation. This one. Okay, this is the repository where all the default codespace images are managed. And so it is a source of very good examples. You see, you have many of them, but you have universal. And universal has, where is it? Here. And here, yes, you can see all the feature of dev container to shine. They use a lot of good stuff here. I mean, good stuff, they use a lot of feature of it. And there's one feature that is called the Docker in Docker, I think. Yes, because you also have this stuff that is called feature that is on top of the Docker file it is like installing other stuff, bundle of stuff in your environment, but not with the dev container. And this one has been deleted, yes. This one is the one with Tumbleweed. Yes, this one is still installing, but I can show you. In the OpenSUSE one, I have a Docker file, and dev container is pointing to the Docker file. In the Ubuntu one, I do not have any Docker file, and it is because I want this universal image to be used. So you see, there's no Docker file. There's just a post create command that points to my script, and that's it. And it is especially because I like not to have to mess around with the Docker file, because I like their Docker file to be used. And they have, you see, they have a lot of stuff. One of them is about Docker in Docker. Yes, this one. You see, it is not the only trick. They have many other, like this one, for example, like a wrapper script. I can tell you that honestly, I do not understand fully, but what I like to say is that it is possible to run on Docker within the code space. It is just that more works needs to be done. And I think that's it. We can wait here, but if anyone has any question.
Yep, good point for questions. We have like 3 minutes left. Any ideas, experiences yourself that you would like to share?
Yeah, I have one more stuff to to show. Do we like to have it in OS Auto Insti distri OpenSUSE, and how? What is the impact? If we merge my branch in the master, what happens is that this folder is created. We can decide which of them we like to have. But my point is that so we are influencing any user that like to use codespace. If we are committing this file, anytime a user would like to create a codespace, it will use this file. We are like forcing the user doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another way to do it that is less user friendly for the user, but you can manage. Yes, you can create a separate repository. Let's see. With the dev container folder, and when you create your dev container, you can refer to this one as a template. So it is more difficult for the user to create a dev or the container, no, because it needs to go to the option he needs to know the name of the repository, but it can be managed separately. And here we are in Ubuntu, yes. And I think that here the test ISO2 video is working.
Tools. Test ISO2.
Yes. And otherwise it does not work. But you see, at least here it's...
Yeah, it's already having no problem to start. And
Yes,
then
exactly.
when we can start a container, depending on, to be easily.
Yes.
So that's a bit of a general decision. One can go with a bit more abstracted way of using containers already within the setup, like we do here, or with this make prepare, expect that this is prepared on the outside. I'm also not sure about that, but it would be nice to to still keep something like that working. Would like to not overstretch the time, so Michele, thank you very much. I think in the next year, 2024, we can also continue with that at some time. Maybe any of you, maybe you, Michele, maybe somebody else has some more experiences or some ideas to share, some questions around that, some other experiences. So that would be really. So with that, thank you very much. And as an announcement for the next time, as suggested, okay. So next week we will skip the workshop session period, and also the week after that. So I would hope to see you again back on the 12th of January 2024, then for the SUSE QE roadmap discussion of 2024-01. That's January of 2020. Until then, thank you for attending and have a nice time, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.